everyone, my name is Mark Moykins, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create your own home studio on a budget. I'm going to talk you through what I did, and hopefully you can learn something and use that at your own house. Now first of all, let me give you a little background about what I do. I'm a software developer and I create YouTube tutorials that teach software development. And another one of our needs is my wife, who's recording, also does voiceovers and voice acting, so she also needs a quiet space to do recording. Now, one of the first things we had to do was we had to actually move because where we lived was a very noisy environment. So as you can see, we moved into a much quieter neighborhood. We're still close to the city, but it's quiet enough that we can do recording without having to interrupt and stop and set a schedule. So this is our house. We're going to head into it, and I'm going to show you the space we picked and how we set it up to create our own professional home recording studio. All right, so let's head inside. And as you can see, it's autumn and we have leaves everywhere. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about sound. It's very echoey in this room, so this obviously isn't where we're going to be recording. But also, there is some road noise, but there's not a lot of traffic. So that's a major plus for us. Not a lot of noise. Now we do get some airplanes, we do get some loud trucks driving by every once in a while, like garbage trucks. So, this is where the home recording studio is, at least the entrance to it. Now take a look around. Can you tell where the recording studio is? It's actually in that closet right there. We were quite surprised when we moved in here that we found this closet. Now it's actually bigger than it looks. It's a small door, yes, and I had to build a step to get up into it. And if you look, the ceiling is actually as high as this ceiling right here. So we can still go into it and stand up straight and not have any problems. It's not uncomfortable. So it's very ugly, and let me talk you through why we did it this way. First of all, we're on a budget. We wanted to keep costs to a minimum. So I had some padding from before, from my previous studio, and I just put some on the door to kind of absorb sound. Now this padding, the main purpose of this padding isn't to stop outside sounds from coming in, but it's to absorb sounds that you make as you're recording. So that's very important to understand. And let's come inside and take a look. Now, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause right here and I'm going to show you some pictures of what the studio looked like beforehand so you get an idea of how things have changed. Now that you've seen those pictures, I'm going to describe to you some of the changes that I made. The first thing we needed was power in the closet. Now there was a conduit box already in here, but it just had a cover on it, a plate on it, and it didn't have an outlet. So that's one of the first things I did was to add an outlet so we have power inside the closet. Luckily, a lot of closets might not have power. If you do want to build a studio inside of a closet and all it has is maybe like a light bulb, there are things that you can buy that you can screw into the light socket and then the light bulb that gives you an outlet. So you have power, your own outlet, your own power source inside the closet. Now let's talk about the padding here. You may notice that it's a bunch of different colors, a bunch of different blankets. So what we did was we went to Goodwill or went to a thrift store and we just picked up a bunch of blankets that were super cheap. We brought them home, we cleaned them. My wife kept some of them because she ended up liking them. And then I ran out of blankets to pad the room. But we did a good job with what we had. So they're not pretty, but in our case, we don't really care about how pretty it is because we're not recording video inside of here. We're recording strictly sound.
Except for this one.
Except for this one, that's true. So why did we make it like this? Well, let's go over it a little bit. Why don't you come on in? So the first tip on sound absorption is you may notice when you record in a closet that actually has clothes in it, it makes for excellent recording studios. The clothes trap all the sound in between, the clothes that are being hung up. Well, we're not going to hang up clothes in here. Instead, we're going to hang up blankets, and we basically stapled them in, and we created ripples in them in this house with recording or absorbing sound. Now, if you've ever been in a professional sound recording studio, you may notice that the walls and the floor are not completely flat. They're not at 90-degree angles. 90-degree angles tend to create better echoes, better reverberation, and that's exactly what sound recording studios don't want. They want to minimize this. So that's why we kind of break up the flat surfaces. Now, if you look at the roof, I took some existing padding that I had, and these are sound absorption panels. And you notice they have the ridges in it because that helps that helps absorb sound. And you notice I don't go straight and create those 90-degree angles. I kind of have it wrapping around a little bit. This also helps with sound absorption. And so just keep that in mind when you're creating your own home studio. It doesn't have to be perfect inside. It doesn't have to be clean 90-degree angles or anything. You can mess it up as much as possible, and that'll actually help with sound absorption. So don't worry about making it perfect. As you can see, this isn't perfect. We got ripples and things in here, and you may notice there's a pipe down here. That's because on the other side of this wall is our dryer, washing machine and dryer, and that's the exhaust pipe right there. So we took care to make sure it's not too hot, where it's a fire hazard. It actually helps warm up this closet when it gets cold. Okay, so let's come in a little bit. And as you can see, we did the same thing with the floor too. We just put down carpet, we put down some the blankets. This is actually a very big blanket that wraps all the way across. This doesn't have ripples in it because I simply ran out of blanket and we couldn't do it. But there's ripples all on this side, there's ripples in the back, so it creates a lot of sound absorption. Now you might notice, I don't know if it will record on this video, but let's close the door and see if they notice a difference in sound. Okay, we closed the door, and I want to see if you can notice the difference in the sound. It's a lot different from outside, even in the kitchen or even outside. And basically, it kind of has this phenomena of like you're going underwater. That's how good the sound absorption is. I don't know if our recording device will pick that up, but maybe you may have noticed it when you put on sound canceling headphones, and it makes you kind of want to pop your ears because it feels like you're going deep in the water. So that's the kind of phenomena that we have in here, and that's very good. We have the sound absorption down pat. Now let's take a look at the equipment that we have here. I want to explain to you how I set this up, and everything that you see here is actually in a specific position on purpose. Now let's start with the desk. As you can see, the desk is very minimal. We don't have a big desk, it's not very wide. We try to keep it as minimal as possible because the flat hard surfaces deflect sound and contribute to echo. So we have a minimum space desk. The chair also it's very light, and we also chose a chair that we can easily pull in and out, and that also doesn't creak and make a lot of noise. And you notice there's also padding on it, which may or may not help with the sound padding, but it certainly helps with the comfort. So on top of the desk, we actually have a very wide mouse pad that you see here. Now, why do I have a mouse pad that's so big? It's because you may not believe this, but a desk using the mouse and hitting the keys as you're typing, because I create tutorials where I'm typing, contributes to sound. And it's not that the keys or even the clicking on the mouse is so loud, but it creates a vibration that transfers directly to the desk, and the desk kind of amplifies it. So the mouse pad helps dampen those kinds of sounds. Okay, so that covers the desk. And what we did is we opened the door back up, so you may notice a difference in the sound quality, because we just had to let more light in as we record, because it's pretty dark in here. Now, the next thing I want to talk about are these cables here and these cables here. They're actually separated for a reason. The cables on the right side are all power cables. And what you want to do is you want to separate the power cables from the audio cables because they can interfere with recording or the signal noise or sound quality. So that's why all the power cables are on this side. Now let's talk a little bit about our recording equipment and the flow here, the process. So we start with the microphone, and the microphone, gets the signal or the sound, and it transfers it to this machine right here. Now this is called a preamp, and the preamplifier, what it does is it increases the sound, and it can make adjustments and fine-tune the sound until you get it the way you want. From here, it goes into this device right here. And what this does is it basically takes that signal or the sound and it converts it so it can be recorded on the computer. And that's where this USB cable comes from, is this device right here. So this is called a USB interface. Okay, now I'm going to talk about a little bit about what each one does and how you can use this information to make your own purchasing decisions. Now, talking about the microphone first. This is a Shure SM58 microphone. It costs about $100, and it's not the best microphone. A better microphone that they make, in some cases, is a $400 microphone, and it creates a really rich and deep sound as you record. And their more expensive microphone is $400. So why did I get this one? Why did I get the $100 microphone? Well, there's a couple of reasons. As you may notice, my voice is a little bit deeper. And when I record, it records as a deep, kind of rich voice, right? So when you shop for microphones, it's better if you get on YouTube and try to find someone who has your own voice quality. And when they compare microphones, that's what you want to look for. I did a lot of searching on YouTube for microphone comparisons. So I tried to find someone who had a voice similar to mine. So then I wanted to see which one sounded better for me. And this one sounds better for me because it doesn't record so much bass. Different microphones have different recording levels. So that's why I started with this one. We'll see how it works. If I can't achieve the sound that I want, then I can always change microphones and upgrade later on. But for $100, this is a good value. And this right here is what's called a pop filter. And you put it over the microphone, between your mouth and the microphone. So as you talk, there's certain sounds that the human mouth makes that pushes out more air. Like the word push, more air comes out. And if that air hits the microphone, it can disrupt the sound. And you may have noticed this on your own phones. As you're recording outside, if it's windy, you notice how you get that kind of sound? Well, that air coming out of your mouth can interrupt the recording on the microphone. Now, this does have padding inside to help prevent that, and this just adds extra protection. Okay, now the signal goes into this piece of equipment right here, which is called a preamplifier. Now, a preamplifier, basically what happens is, so your signal comes in here, and it gets recorded on the laptop. And this is, before it gets recorded, anything that happens to the signal is pre, and after it's recorded, any changes you make to the sound is called post. Post means after, pre means before. So a preamplifier takes the sound signals, and you can do different things with them. Now, one of the things that you can do is if you record with just this microphone and get it directly into the laptop, the volume's going to be low. And a lot of times, you'll have to use software to increase the volume. So anything that you can do before you record to the sound is going to give you a better quality sound. So the preamplifier will amplify the signals. But it does more than that. Over here, we can see it has what's called a de-esser. Some of the sounds that your mouth makes too, there's a lot of like S sounds, and microphones really pick that up. And it can create kind of like an annoying sound. So the de-esser can help minimize those sounds. You know, that kind of sound. Then the next one over here is the enhancer. And those can basically, in simplified terms, they can modify the quality of your bass and your treble, or low frequencies and high frequencies. And then next to that, you have the expander or gate. And this is one of the main reasons why I bought this preamplifier here. By the way, this preamplifier is about $200, just to give you an idea. So what the expander and the gate does is, say you are in an environment where you can't move. You don't have the expenses right now. You can't move to a quieter environment. So you're in a busy city and it's noisy outside. What you could do, what I would advise, is to buy something like this. And I actually know someone who has this, and they live on the ground floor in a busy city next to a busy street. And he uses the gate to cancel out all unwanted sounds. So with your mouth close to the microphone, it's getting sounds in at a certain volume. Let's just call it a volume, okay? for simplicity. Now what you can do is all these background sounds have a lower volume or frequency. So you can cut out those lower sounds, those lower volume sounds that come in. For example, we have a refrigerator that runs sometimes right in the kitchen. And we also have a heater, a ventilation that runs. And these are all background sounds. Airplane flying overhead, a bus or a garbage truck driving by. Those are all lower volume sounds. And by turning up the gate, I can cancel out all of those background sounds that might be recorded. And it works perfectly. I mean, it's like dead silent. So you may be asking, well, doesn't your sound recording studio do that for you? It doesn't. Now, all these blankets and this padding here, it may contribute a little bit to preventing sounds from coming in. But mainly what it's for is for absorbing sound that's already inside, mainly your own voice when you're talking. So this prevents a lot of echo. So this does a great deal of work to correct, not really correct, but to improve the sound inside the studio. But it doesn't work so well in preventing sound from coming inside the studio. So that's what this preamplifier does. It really helps modify the sound. And the main thing, this is the main amplification for the microphone coming in. And then once the sound is modified, you have another amplifier at the end that can increase the signal as well. So after you're done modifying the sound, it comes into your USB interface. And again, all this does is it takes the sound. This is your input right here. It comes from here. And you just plug it in. And this is basically just going to go straight through and go right into your laptop. There's no power for this. It gets its power from your laptop, from this USB cable. It has another option too. If you're testing the sound and you want to, adjust the control of the sound and listen to it, then you can just plug in your headphones here and listen to the direct feedback. So then from here, you can use any kind of recording software that you want. I'm not really going to get into recording software at this point. I mainly just wanted to show you the setup that I have. Now there's a few more things. There's a reason why this boom arm right here that holds the microphone is up on this shelf rather than this desk rather. And that's because when your microphone is on the desk that you're typing on or you're moving your mouse, like I said, the desk produces a vibration as you're typing or moving your mouse. And that vibration goes all the way up through the arm, and it can pick it up on the microphone. And you may not think that's a lot of sound, but you actually, when it gets recorded, you hear it as like a boom, 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 boom kind of sound. And that's basically the vibration from your keyboard or your mouse. So I wanted to put the arm, or the microphone, on a separate shelf, so it's not directly connected to the desk. And that's why this arm is here. And now as far as water, why do I have water here? And that's because when I record audio, a lot of times you're coughing a lot, or you haven't spoken a lot. It's early in the morning, and you need some water. But it's not just water; it's water with a lime or lemon in it. And I really find that helps. If you're recording and you're coughing a lot or clearing your throat, then put a little bit of lime or lemon in your water and then drink that, and that really helps. Apples help too. Eating an apple before you record really helps condition your throat for a lot of speaking. And then, the external monitor, that's just because when I record videos, sometimes I run presentations that have notes on them, or I show script or code that I'm teaching. So that's why I have an external monitor. All right, that's about it. And so let's talk about price of everything. This was $100. The USB interface, I think, was $100 or $150. And then the preamplifier was $200. So, for about $400, $450, you can get set up. Now, if you're on more of a budget than that, then you can definitely start with a cheaper microphone. If you are in a quiet environment, then you can start with just what's called a USB microphone. Like look at Blue, the company Blue. Like get a Blue Snowball, a Blue Yeti, and you can use that for recording. A lot of microphones have noise cancellation built in, so if there's background noises, it'll cancel them out to a certain extent, but they're not perfect. This has been the only device that I've used that can perfectly cancel out all background sounds. So start with that, and then test it, see how it works. And if it doesn't work well, then start looking at this other equipment. And once you get into more professional microphones, they're not USB microphones, so you will need a USB interface so you can record it through a USB port. And then if you really need it, or you want to up your game, then go to the amplifier, the preamp, and this will take care of everything else that you need. So those are my tips for home recording studio. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a lot. And if you want to get into recording, maybe you can use some of these tips to create your own studio. I'd like to thank Pluralsight. They taught me a lot about audio. They taught me a lot about this equipment and what equipment I should get, because they are a company where they have a ton of people that are recording tutorials and courses in their own homes, and they have to help people every day with setting up the perfect recording studio to get the sound that's required. And I'd also like to thank my patrons who give me money, and I was able to use that money to purchase this equipment. So thank you so much. It really helps me out, because when you're the head of a household, yet all your money goes toward your family, and your wife doesn't budget enough money for you to spend on equipment like this. So any money I get from Patreon, she doesn't get. I'm just kidding. So thank you for all of your help. This is partly your studio. Your money went into building a better studio so I can deliver better quality content. So thank you so much for all of your help. If any of you guys are professionals, or professional audiophiles out there, please leave a comment down below if there's any way I can improve this setup that I have here. I learned a lot from YouTube, and I learned a lot from you guys out there, the professionals that are already out there, and I'm always looking to learn more. So if you have any suggestions, please leave a comment below. All right, thanks guys.